to be doing.
Yeah, I wanted to catch that recording. Yes, it's so important. What you said is really important. I call intuitive intelligence intuition with intel, because intuition gives you information, and it happens to be flawless information for the individual's path, the individual's goals and objectives. It's a perfect match for each individual. It's not like a one size fits all knowing. Everyone has it available for themselves. And so we've all had these experiences where we had both of these experiences where we got an intuitive hit. Don't go there. Don't drive on this bridge today. Don't, invite that client into your experience. Don't invite this person into your life. Stop and go in that building right now. We get those hits all the time. And we do two things. We listen to them and then move accordingly. And then we don't listen to them and move accordingly. We've all had those where when we did listen, it was correct. And how we knew it was correct for us is down the road, not in the moment you're making the decision. And that's the piece that's so different about using the rational mind for decision making and listening to your intuitive self, your intuitive intelligence. Because the intuitive intelligence is accurate because it's coming from a different place inside the human being. That's why it's accurate. It's coming from a heart-based place. It's coming from a soul-based place. And it doesn't possess things like judgment or even opinions for that matter. This is good, this is bad. This is right, this is wrong, like that. It doesn't even have any of that. It's neutral, like the GPS in our car is neutral to the address we put in the GPS. Totally neutral. It doesn't have an opinion about that. And just says at the next corner, turn left, like that. Now, we've also had experiences where we got the intuitive hit, but we didn't listen because we had no evidence, because we have a very long-standing momentum on evidence. We're using the rational mind saying, well, let's see, last time this similar thing happened, here's what happened 11 years ago when I was encountering this exact same situation. And here's what I did back then. And then, so that seemed to work back then. So I'm going to go with that proven result as compared to, I just have this ethereal knowing of some form that has no information in it on the front end. So that's when we go, I'm going to go with what I know. So here's the thing to know. Since we're talking about knowing, is the thing to know is intuition is always right. And the thing to know is your proof of that will come later. And then you'll be so happy you listen to your intuition. We've all done that, where we've listened to it and we had no evidence of that. And then down the road, something happens and go, oh my gosh, I'm so happy I listened to myself that time. And then when we say in the moment, because it was so cool, it was sort of effortless knowing, is that, you know what, next time, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get that intuitive hit and I'm going to listen to myself. And then you know what we do next time? We get the intuitive hit and we don't listen to ourselves. That's what happens. Oh, Janelle's here. Cool. That's what happens. Oh, there you are. Hey, Janelle.
Hi.
We're so happy to see you. We heard you bopped over to Scottsdale this morning.
Yeah, I'm in North Scottsdale.
Nice. Okay. Well, they're lucky them. Lucky North Scottsdale.
Oh, thank you. That's sweet of you.
It's true. So anyway, say again, Debbie.
Her birthday was Friday too.
Oh my gosh, happy birthday to you both. Happy birthday to you both. Happy birthday, Janelle and Debbie. Happy birthday
Birthday to you. I just joined it.
and many more. See, I like you so much I sang again. Doesn't fly here.
My internet was out. Good morning.
Good morning,
I had
Katie.
to
So
turn off
happy.
my internet, turn it back on, so I'm late.
What, say all that again? It went so
My
fast.
internet was cuckoo, so I had to turn it off and turn it back on. But I want to show you guys my awesome New Mexico mug that has aliens on the inside.
Oh no! Oh, that's right. You're from Roswell.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, they came to visit you first.
they did. Well, that's where I'm from. It's a long way to go home for Thanksgiving. I'm just saying.
Yeah, like how many 200 light years away is where you're
Yeah,
from?
but it takes no time.
Oh, see, because Jason raised the subject this morning about possibly it's up for question whether he's human or not. So now I'm understanding the
He's
link.
definitely
between
not.
these two.
Yeah. That's why
I got it. Okay, well, mystery solved. You know?
Exactly.
Good morning, Kim.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, so we have a couple birthdays here, so we were singing when you came on.
Oh,
so.
happy
That's
birthday.
exciting.
Yeah.
Whose
To
birthday is it
Debbie,
today?
Debbie,
Happy birthday.
and Janelle.
Happy
Janelle,
birthday.
there
Oh,
you are.
nice.
This
You
is
guys
Kim from
birthday?
Colorado. Yes.
Thanks, Kim.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
So
welcome.
anyway, so the issue with intuition is it couldn't be a more significant subject. And here's one of the reasons why. Because we need to start listening to our, you know, guys call it gut feeling. I have a gut feeling, they say. And what's so brilliant about that, the guys say that, is that's where the intuition feeling is coming from. It's like the stomach area. It's in your stomach. Sometimes you get somebody says something and you get like a butterflies thing going on. That happens. And that's what we talked about in the video that went out Monday, is the body has a brain. The body is a living organism brain, and it's reacting in an intuitive sense, connected to the heart, of course, connected to our soul, of course, that's giving us intel about where, just like a GPS, where you said you wanted to go, this particular situation isn't a match for that, is all it's saying. It's like the GPS in our car doesn't say that address you put in is bad, so I'm going to take you the opposite way because I really like you. Is not what the GPS does in our cars. The GPS says, you said you want to go there, we're on our way. You know what I mean? It actually doesn't say that, but you know, it's performing that. Is what that is.
I would actually like it if my GPS said that to me. Let's go this way.
I know, right? There's a cute guy over there.
Exactly.
Your GPS wants you to meet. I know, right? I think that technology is coming, but not today. So, so for today's class, you know, we can dream for the future too. But anyway, so it's not evaluating. It's the same thing with our intuition. If you're going and you make a certain, you know, business objective goal, you know, you want to fulfill, you want to accomplish, you want to open a new market and all these things. And so you define very clearly that which you want. Then the intuition works more noticeably. It's always working, I might add, but it's more noticeable because you said specific. And when you set the goal to go into this market or this particular company and you get a feeling, that feeling in your stomach, it's like a beware, you know, buyer beware thing, you know, it's going on, like, you know, caution. All it's saying is not that where you're heading is bad. It's saying where you're heading isn't a match for what you said you want to do, where you said you want to go. And the coolest part of all, and we all are you know, how many people here have heard of and or read The Purpose-Driven Life? What's that book called? Purpose-Driven Life. Purpose-Driven Life. Rick Warren, right? Yes. How many people have heard of that or read that? Okay. So the number one book sold on the planet is the Bible. Number two is that book. It's like astounding. I mean, really astounding. And he's not number two greatest book ever written because he's a good author. The reason it is because he struck a chord of truth that's inside every single human being. There's a lot of science to back that up. There's a lot of, studies done in the behavioral science level that basically says we're all hardwired at birth to contribute and make a difference. So Jason, did you want to share something? Want to share?
No, I'm shaking my head and agreeing. I mean, that book, interestingly enough, has changed. It's a big deal actually in the church communities. His sequel to the book is called The Purpose-Driven Church, actually.
Oh, okay.
And they have talked about, just pretty much exactly what you're talking. I'm just affirming.
Oh, got it. Okay, because your screen lit up, and that's usually what somebody wants to say. I wanted to hear from you anyway.
Well, let me affirm.
Yeah, it's true. So in the behavioral science, where there's a great book written by Daniel Pink called Driven, and that book is about what drives people to move. Again, there's so many studies on this subject. There's so much information on this subject, is that we're wired to contribute and make a difference. And when we're operating in that way, what happens is that we're plugging into a higher wisdom that Dr. Edgar Mitchell, on his return to Earth from Apollo 14, tapped into the field that he was flying through, you could say, I guess, and basically said that what he sensed was it was an overwhelming sense of bliss, he said, state of bliss. And then he referred to it as benevolent intelligence with vast knowing. And he said, this knowing is so real, science simply has to get involved in discovering what is this knowing. And then when he got back in 72, the flight was February 72. He came back in 1973. He created an organization which exists today in many places in the world called Noetic Science, the Institute for Noetic Science. Noetic is the Greek word for knowing. He said the vast knowing is that massive and it's so real. He said that to me personally, by the way, and then said it multiple other times. I think it's on his website then, but it's just an amazing truth. And so I believe that what's happening and why this is coming out now is because it's time we tap into a different intelligence source. And because the intelligence source isn't just data, it's wisdom. And it's not an accident that MIT Sloan Graduate School of Management, Peter Senge and others are teaching Fortune 500 companies, CEOs, what they refer to as lead by sensing the future. So sensing the future isn't a data-based activity, you would say, right? And so, because you're talking about employing 200,000 people or whatever is the large numbers of these big companies, Fortune 500 companies, but it's a very large group of people who they're serving is a very, very large group of people. And so to stay successful today and in the future means to stay relevant for the future. How do you stay relevant for the future? What you're producing today matters tomorrow. Well, how are you going to know that? One is to begin with intending that. Remember, intention is the generative power to produce my words and outcome, And so, so when you intend to be relevant, what's relevant mean when you're in a service-based industry, especially, but really any industry? What's relevant in business and being successful in business is serving people in ways that matter to them, in ways that affect their own lives, in ways that enhance the quality of life for them and their families. So when business taps into that idea, it's very different than a business being generated in the industrial age, that the only intent at that time was to make a profit. That's it. They were very clear. the characteristics of the industrial age, which is manufacturing. It was, we were in a manufacturing boom starting in 1755 in London, where the industrial age began, was there, and that's making things, right? And so the 5 characteristics are control, systemization, predictability, faster is better, profit. So only reason. So that means if you go faster, I make more money as the owner. I also control all aspects of it. So controlling all aspects of a manufacturing system takes the individual and their personal qualities out of the mix. They're there in a robotic-like manner to perform a function. And what the person that owns that company says, for that function, for that individual, my choice is to let you know that you're worth $1.46 an hour. What? It's a very different model, you see? And so that's where the concept of earning money came from, by the way, from our parents and their parents. My dad used to say, you got to work really hard to earn enough money. You got to work, be honest, hardworking, dedicated, and then that's how you earn a living. We're stepping into a completely different, and I'm so excited to be alive right now. Oh my God, it's the coolest time ever, because we're shifting from that old idea of robotic like to make money, hard work, hard day, long day, hard work, long day, small money. I remember my parents had a sign in the kitchen that we got to see every day. Oh joy, how come there's so much month left after the money? Right. So Margie would understand that, because we're from the Valley. That's Valley talk, back then, Valley talk. And so anyway, because now what's happening, we're talking about a manifestation process and a knowing process. And not to mention, we've moved for 30 years now in the GDP, gross domestic product. The percentage is 82% of our all the money being made in America is from service-based industries. So if you want to just do the logic of it is okay, because I can promise you we're still operating in an industrial age when the product is service. Okay, control. Couple things on that. Ever try to control a person? Good luck on that one. Do you know what I mean? Control. Here's a way to control. Even in the service industry it's done today. What do you think that's called? I'll just hold this up for visual aid. Scripts. Read this script. They even tell you what to say and how to say it. I'm just saying it's still done today. People ask, could you write out because how you say blah, blah, blah is so cool. Could you write it out? Because I want to use that. I'm like, no, because what I do is open up the intention to be of value to somebody, and it comes from your own self, your words, your way, your language. I was driving I had done an event in another state and driving back here actually to Arizona, and a salesperson called on the phone and was just rifling off something. And I said, excuse me just a second. Would you mind reading slower? That made her really mad. So she yelled at her potential customer, I'm not reading. How dare you? I went, well, that's effective. Scolding me on the front end. Good job. I'm a sales trainer, so I'm enjoying this call quite a lot, actually. She didn't like me at all. I'm not reading. I went, well, let me put it this way. It sounds like you're reading. So whatever you're doing, could you just do it slower? Because I can't understand what you're talking about. That's what I said. Why? She had the script. I know this for sure. We all know this for sure. So you see how that idea that our impact power is in our being authentic, first of all, really having an excitement and a passion and a desire to serve somebody. And now you're in front of somebody, lucky me, right? And then what comes out next is natural. What if you were dating? Let's just say dating, first time dating, starting again, dating, that's me, starting again, dating person. I mean, not dating person yet person, but maybe soon to be dating person. We'll see. But then I get a script on
Tell
how
your
to talk.
GPS. Tell your GPS and he'll find you a date.
Well, pretty much, but see, I have to learn my script. So let's say you have a script of meeting boys, because you go to or I should say men, right? It's been that long since I've had a date, right? They were boys back when I dated last. No, that's Irish humor. It wasn't, that's not true. But anyway, but so okay, when you talk to boys, you say this. First of all, you look up and look at them and say, hello. You go, okay, hello. I'm just saying, of course, that's ridiculous. We have 5 meetings a day with different people. We don't have a one size fits all script, but that's the industrial age mindset is that. That's what we've got to take aboard. It's time to step into our higher, better, fuller potential and talk from that place, because there's genius in that place. And by the way, in writing the book, Intuitive Intelligence, Living in the Zone, I learned, I can't begin to tell you how excited I was when writing that book, and the information that was coming in from my own intuitive self is that genius is actually a frequency. It's actually a frequency. It is not like a brain capacity as one would think. I'm sure it has something to do with the brain processing and blah, blah, blah stuff, but the information isn't coming from the brain. It's coming from a frequency that we tap into. Just like intuition is a frequency we tap into. Just like intelligence is a frequency we tap into. Just like harmony, value, kindness, compassion, these are all frequencies that we tap into, we align with, let's say it that way. And it's a very big deal that we step into that way of being alive today. Now, here's a reason why to take a look at this is different. Is that there's something, you could look this up on the internet. It's an interesting subject. It's called the flicker frequency. Flicker, lights flickering off and on. The flicker frequency is the mind's capacity to see pictures, distinguish the differences between the picture, between the flickers, and oh gosh, okay, thank you, Kate. Sorry. We had a really cool, check it out in the chat. Kat, that's a cool. And so what happens when things were moving slower, the mind's capacity to see pictures and distinguish the flickers is 24 to 60 frames of pictures a second. So when things were moving much slower in the world and in our life, we could ponder, So then you make decisions with some actual information in the moment, because your mind is seeing pictures. And you go, okay, you're seeing these pictures, like you're looking at a scene. Do I want to go down that road? Your brain is flashing on all the input it's receiving before you decide to go down that road. It's like that. And we made decisions on that in a lot of ways. And it worked. But it doesn't take a rocket scientist. It doesn't even take anybody that is, very old. The little children, the animals know this. Everybody knows this that's tapped into the living field, which we all are, but are we listening is another subject, which is this subject. To realize things are moving so fast because of the technology and all kinds of things. Things are moving so fast. The speed at which all aspects of our life is proliferating at such a rate, and every day getting faster. I did the intuitive intelligence event with a PhD level engineer guy in quantum physics from Germany. And he flew out to Colorado and we did several events together. He had the science on the subject of intuitive intelligence. I had the practical application on it. And he said by this year, 2020, 2021, this year, is a prediction, but he said it's going to move so fast that you're going to go to sleep at night and you're going to wake up in the morning and the intel information has just doubled overnight. And then guess what? Tonight it's going to double again and again and again. So I believe, this is my opinion, not based on anything, but my opinion is that the reason there's so much freak out and stress happening in the world, one of them is the mind is shutting down because it's now on overload. And when you overload a mind that so it can't function and it is your intel source, all that can happen is unconsciousness and stress. Try making decisions of any form from unconsciousness and stress. It will all be survival mode. Survival mode is all about me. Surviving at all cost. That's it. And when you look around what's going on in the world, that's what you see. A lot of individuals operating in you will obey me or there will be serious consequences. Because in their mind, to not have it their way because they can't see. You see? So that's my opinion, is that the stress started some time ago. That in the 80s is when things started to go a little cuckoo. And the cuckoo continued. Oh, that's a book. Cuckoo Continues. Or a movie or a song. Cuckoo Continues, right? So the point of this, and then just for you to know the background on this just very quickly, is that October 2019, during my prayer meditation time, I got a very clear, I could even say loud, intuitive hit to write about intuition. Now, I never had that in my lifetime, that kind of input like that ever. I'm like, and then I hear get the tone of urgent. It's urgent. Really? Well, that's so weird, you know? And if I sat down to write about and so I mean, I certainly follow things like that. And so I sat down to write about it and it was sort of flat because I'm like looking it up in the dictionary. What does it mean? And what happens when people are doing it? And just sort of like that. But then then March 2020 came. Anybody remember that day? I think it was St. Patrick's Day. I think it was the 17th, where my personal world stopped cold. And all my income stopped cold. In a moment, canceled everything, you know, and it was, I had been, as many people have, you know, focusing January, February and the whole year. So I had booked a lot of stuff was going on. It was going to be a great year, but it turned out to be a very great year for different reasons, because now I have a lot of quiet time. And now I understand why intuition is so important, because we're getting our information from the television. People in television have a hidden agenda. Any guesses what the hidden agenda is? It's one. Make money.
And control.
So they can be bought off. Here, talk about this and I'll give you $100 million. You think that's not happening? Think again.
Yeah.
Okay. And so on top of it, if they can sensationalize something, they make more money, because the sensationalism of this guy did it. He's bad. And tell a bunch of lies and stuff. I mean, everyone knows that's happening because their ratings are dropping like a rock in water, you know, because the people are sensing that they're not receiving the truth. So it ceases to become an information source. So then if that's where we're used to getting it, where else do we get it? Do we get it from books? Maybe. But is it useful for this moment? You see, this moment in time has a bunch of very cool stuff in it. It has to do with any direction that you're shifting to take is going to be in flawless alignment with why you were born, why we all were born. If we're born to contribute and make a difference, well, where, how, in what way? Just like fingerprints. Can you imagine 8 billion people on the planet and we all have different fingerprints? Well, we all have a very unique reason that we were born, and we have a very unique reason to, I would say, destiny to accomplish and perform some things and serve some folks and make some difference and some changes and make it better for humanity, is why when we do that in a charitable way, it feels so great. And people are crying because they can't believe they were so lucky to build a house for someone and hand them the keys. Now, that doesn't happen because that individual event is kind of a cool thing. That happens all the time in every way where we're contributing in a manner. And so what I determined to do a long time ago is to put the mix of where we're most authentic and powerful in the mix of how we create our money. And now there's a lot of stuff coming out about purpose driven in the business setting. It's now becoming like a big deal. Margie found this wonderful book from an interview that she just got for herself and myself, From Paycheck to Purpose. She said it's very good. We haven't read it yet. We're going to read it together and have a powwow about it. But what she heard on the interview was astounding. It's there's so many. There's a wonderful book written some time ago by Raj Sisodia. Raj Sisodia wrote a book called Firms of Endearment, which is how people put the purpose into the mix of how they create their money. Now, when I tapped into my own intuition to write that book called Intuitive Intelligence, I started realizing a bunch of stuff that's so cool, that genius is not, isolated to the intelligence capacities of a few. Genius is available to all that tap into the frequency of it. It's number one. Number two, intuition is a frequency also. So if intuition is going to become my new intel source, then how do I get that? Check it out. It's a frequency also. This just gets better, guys. I'm saying this gets better. Hang on. Is that then I somehow, I mean, all this information was, I would say, downloading. I was just in some other place, zone, like the athletes call it, the zone. Living in the zone is the subtitle. Thank you to Gary Thomas, who's on this call, who I love and adore this man, because we talked about the title and which should come first. And when I heard him say living in the zone should be the tagline, and I listened to that, and so now it is. Thank you, Gary, for that contribution, because it's important to understand everyone knows what it means when athletes are in the zone. That means that they're not operating from rational mind because they'd be unconscious on the court. I wonder if I should, done, game over. Hockey puck just hit you in the forehead. We'll see you when you wake up. I mean, it's like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Thanks for playing. They're all moving at lightning speed in a way they have a knowing. I used to play basketball. Oh, Jason's a great basketball guy too, but I used to play basketball, and my favorite shot was the 22-foot jump shot. And it had to be in a certain place in the key. The key is that oval. So it had to be in the corners of the key. Now, the part that was fascinating to me as an athlete, because you have seconds to shoot, is that the minute the ball left my hand, the second it left my hand, I knew that was a swish. And I used to say, there it is, out loud. There it is. I was that sure, Fast forward to when I was a grown up, started some time ago, and I'm visiting friends at Thanksgiving, and they had a basketball court in the back, not a court, a half thing, for shots for their son, and he's 9, and so we're out there shooting baskets. And then I still had it. There it is. There it is. Swish. It never touched the rim. How would I know that? You see, it's a hit. You get it. So we have a whole nother, it's so fabulous. So this poor woman, she calls me a week later. She went, what did you do to my son? I went, what do you mean? She went, every time he shoots the basket now, he goes, there it is. What does that mean? I'm just saying, it's totally true. Right? So there's so much. Oh, Candace, I'm sorry, I'm on a roll. Candace, please share.
You are on a roll. I love that, Sharon. That's such a good example.
Yeah.
And I was just going to share one of my favorite examples is kind of like, I guess when you're saying, where is that information coming from? And it's so pure and it's so perfect. I think it's like motherhood, right? When you have a
Oh,
baby,
yes.
when you have that mother's intuition and like, how on earth could you know how to keep that thing alive
Exactly.
without the field and just being tapped into
That's
that like
very
divine
good.
knowing? Yeah.
That's very good. That's very good. That's really, so that's so, parents have this, knowing about their kids. That's why they just know. How do they always know everything? They're so plugged in. People that I work with in coaching, my commitment is adamantine to be of highest value. And I know exactly where they're at. I'm tapped into, it's in my stomach. I can tell when they're, struggling a bit. I can tell when they're burned out. I can tell when they're confused about something, it isn't clear, and all of that. And it helps the coaching experience be very fast for them. I want results yesterday myself. I don't want to coach somebody a year and say it's going to take you a year. Are you kidding me? I want it right now for you. Because then you're free and creative. And now you're contributing to the planet. Okay, next, let's go. Let's come together and just do that. You see? And so this whole, to circle back around on all this, the speed at which everything is happening is so fast. We simply must find a different information source, and it's all here and it's all inside of us. And check it out how to do this. This is the part that you're going to just go, oh my gosh, it can't be that simple. Yeah, it is. Because here was another big hit I got. What's the problem on the planet right now with every country, all the people, not all the people, but a large portion of the people? It's a lot of blame and judgment and hate, divisiveness. You're bad, you're wrong. It's just packed with that. Well, guess what frequency is that? Let's say it another way. Margie, 1 second, I'll just finish this sentence. Let's say it another way. The genius, intuition, frequency, higher state frequencies, it's not that. It's called lower states. Hell, hunger, animality, anger is one way to talk about the 4 hells in a human being's experience, and they're swimming in it. They don't get what we're talking about, but we can. Margie.
No, I was just pointing my thumb down, meaning there's we're living in the lower worlds today, the lower energies, the lower frequencies, with all the blame and the hate and the lazy and the that was my thumbs down. But I was going to also comment about intuition, and that is our law enforcement agencies, from the FBI, the CIA, all of them, the police departments, have been using intuition and push intuition in every single safety class I've ever taken over the last 20 years.
Wow,
The number
interesting.
one thing they tell the women in their their safety classes, if the hair on the back of your neck comes up or you get goosebumps for like no reason, that be prepared. That is your body telling you that there is danger around you
Yes,
somewhere.
yes, yes,
And so they've
yes.
been using it, to operate for years. And so now it's just now coming. I mean, they use it more of a safety precaution as
Right.
opposed to your whole life precaution, or
Right,
how to
right.
move forward in your life. So
Well, it's like any form of education and experience. You take steps toward the expansion of it. So these are all really wonderful experiences that we have some intel now. First, Einstein said the only true source of knowledge is experience. The other thing Einstein said is that everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. This is not philosophy, this is physics. So when I put that together with Edgar Mitchell's, Apollo 14 journey, and just the information I was getting, I'm like, oh my gosh, the whole thing is a frequency situation. The whole thing is a frequency issue. So all we need to do is get in higher states. And here's what I'm willing to do for everybody here, is that the chapter 2, I think it is, in the Intuitive Intelligence book, which is soon to be in the process of editing, is on this one subject, higher states. I will email it to everybody. It's a very important subject, higher states, because the things that we have available to us, this magnificent intuition, that's intel, that's information about what that's connected to our individual lives. It's the coolest thing ever. So we each have individual frequencies, fingerprints. We have individual destinies to perform some function. If we don't do it, then it doesn't get done. It's not like there's 50 standing behind us going, well, if she doesn't do it, I'll step in. Wrong. It doesn't get done. It's like that. And so this tremendous gift, actually, Einstein called, God, I don't have the exact quote, but I would look it up, is that Einstein talked about intuition being the greatest human gift. He also referred to it as a skill. So we need to practice the skill of intuition, but it's not the intuition itself. It's the skill is matching the frequency of it, which is higher. Because then here's the other giant bonus I found out, is that I looked up a lot of synonyms on the word benevolence, because that was the word Dr. Mitchell referred to in terms of the universe, the vibe he got when he was out, but benevolent intelligence. Inside the word benevolence is all this cool stuff. It's words like harmony, compassion, love, happy, joyful, value. I was so happy because I've been in a business setting teaching value exchange dynamics for a very long time as a business methodology, and not realizing that very phrase is in the field in flawless harmony with benevolence. I had no idea until I started doing this project. So intuitive intelligence, which is this subject, is accessible when we stay in higher states. Now, here's where the practice, developing the skill is, because we go outside and it's a lot of people complaining and a lot of different layers and levels of rage, judgment. The other one's always wrong and we're always right. And all this stuff has to stop if we want to access the greatest gift given to us at birth, which is a flawless alignment with the highest states in the universe. I mean, come on, doesn't get better than that. So on this part sounds really lofty, right? Because there's another thing I want to bring up about this in a moment, is that it's not that big a deal, not that big a leap. I'll say it another, it's a very big deal. It's not that big a leap. The smallest kindness to someone is the same frequency as the higher states. The smallest kindness. Seeing a total stranger discouraged, a waiter in a restaurant where everybody's taking their butt because they're not fast enough. And that you're disappointed too because your lunch is late and you have a meeting and you're really annoyed and all of that stuff, is that they're already in a state of high stress. They're disappointing so many people. I mean, horror show is to be the one to say, I think you're amazing. Because people get real sensitive about their food, and you have chosen a really a noble profession, I might add. And so I think you're doing very great and handling it well. And as far as I'm concerned, in this table, I don't want you to worry about it. If you have a moment, great. If you don't, I'm good. It's okay. Do you see, like that? That's a kindness that raises somebody's state. It is somebody that sees me. Somebody knows me, what I'm going through. The 4 things people all want, we all want, is to be heard, understood. Let me see. Heard, 3 things: heard, understood, and appreciated. We all want 3 things: heard, understood, appreciated. If you're having a conflict with someone, 1, 2, or all 3 of those things are missing. People want to be heard. You know, I had a client one time who was a Western states, 8 states, management of a very large international real estate company. And his objective was to get new people to sign up under the brand and to make sure the people signed up again when their contracts are expiring. And he had a client that just was not happy because he's not getting anything from the brand. So he's going to cancel. Not only is he going to cancel, he's hiding deals because he's not going to pay them any more money. Well, everything in the real estate world is visible, traceable. You know, it's in our face, it's recorded information. So then it be where the brand, so his role now is to get him to sign again and say, we're going to sue you if you don't give us our $4,000. Oh, and by the way, do you know of anyone that wants to sign up under the brand? Can you imagine? This guy had a really tough situation. And so I said to him exactly what we just talked about. Everyone wants to be heard, understood, appreciated. 1, 2, or all 3 of those things are missing. You need to restore that. So I said, when is your meeting? He said, tomorrow morning. I went, call me from the parking lot 15 minutes before you go in the meeting. He did. And so I said to him, this is to consider going down this path, to say to him that, because he's going to say to you, what are you doing here? I told you, I'll see you in hell before I'll pay you this $4,000. You've given me nothing that's of value. So just get out of here. Well, let's just say he says that. You say, I heard you and I hear you. But I'd like to ask you a question. I should have asked you a long time ago and I didn't. And I would like your permission to ask it now. If I were to be of value to you, what would that look like? The guy was floored. Because that's a question of plugging into how you're hardwired. We're all hardwired to contribute and make a difference. So he opened it up in himself and activated inside that man. And then went, wow, that is a really great question. Most people say that still. I've been asking that question a long time. Still say, my God, what a great question. Then he says, you know what we need around here? Then he went right into what he needs. He said, you know what we need around here is more training. So my client said, training in what way? He said, well, we recruit a lot of new people. So about business planning. Well, coincidentally, I had been coaching him how to teach what I teach, which is business plan designing. And then for new people in reels, it was so perfect. He went, well, you're in luck. He said, you're in luck because I do a wonderful training program. It's 5 weeks. It's fantastic. And the newest of people will be, you know, thriving, productive. You won't believe it. It's very good. And I would like to offer it to you. He went, what's that going to cost? It's a gift from the brand, is what he said. Then he went on to say, you know, are there other ways to be of value? I may be of value. He went, well, you know, now that you mention it, there was no talk of this $4,000, I might add. Didn't even get brought up. He said, well, you know, there was a company, you know, just a couple of miles down the road that I really wanted to buy a couple of years ago. And I had a business partner and he, you know, made a mess and it all got canceled. I still would like to, I drive by it all the time. I would like to entertain approaching him again. He said, I'll tell you what, would it be of value if I set up that meeting for you? That would be huge. I'll be back. Where is he? I'm telling you, this is what happened. He goes to the second office, this other company, and said, you know, my name is so-and-so. I work with this umbrella brand real estate company. My business plan is to be of highest value to anyone I invite into my clientele base and use every resource to do so. I was meeting this morning, an hour ago, with Hank. He told me to be of highest value to him would be if he could meet up with you. Would you be open to a meeting? The guy went, what? Who are you? Who are you? What do you do? Are you kidding me with this? You know, set up the meeting. Game over. He was heard, understood, and appreciated. Game over. He signed up under the brand. The fee was paid. My client, which all he wanted to do was do coaching and training and for events, right? Anyway, Candace, I'm so sorry. We only have like 4 more minutes. Please go ahead, my darling.
No problem. I was just gonna say, my favorite thing about this and kind of when you know you're in your intuition and you're in the field and
Yeah,
is how fast it comes.
yes,
And like you said, it comes like someone, okay, so I'm not a mother, but someone will ask me advice as a mother, and
yes,
somehow I can give them a very quick, pure response. And
yes,
it comes from wanting to contribute and be of service. And whenever
absolutely.
you have that intention, it comes easily. It's like
Yes,
a lightning bolt. It's so
yes.
amazing.
So thank you for that. It absolutely is. It's available for all of us. So I want to take this to complete this cycle and then share a corporate scenario with this, what we're talking about, that was astounding. Is that so the way to raise your frequency, the fastest way, if we're wired to contribute and make a difference, that's called intending to be of value. It's not complicated. You don't have to even know what it means when you're saying it. I intend to be of value to anyone who crosses my path. You're that fast in your intuition, because go to the meeting. There's someone that introduced you. It's like a client referral, and you didn't never met before. You have no idea who they are and what's going on. I intend to be of highest possible value when meeting with John Smith today. And then when you're talking, all kinds of things wake up and you know stuff. And people you can ask, are you psychic? No, it's a whole different whatever. I don't know what it is. I'm not that. This is all coming from an intuitive place. And when you operate in that, you're now doing things that are relevant for your own future, because you're tapping into your destiny, which is connected to your future. So the decisions you're making today, listening to your intuition, is connected to the future. It's huge. Every decision you make to listen to yourself is connected to where you're heading. Every one. It's like the GPS saying, continue straight on this highway for the next 3 miles. Okay. It's connected to the future. Now, in a situation here in Arizona, was a corporate situation, and it's actually in the book. It's in this chapter. Step 5 is from a woman that was. I had her do her experience for this because she was in the room when this happened. But I realized that, and they were going to be shut down by corporate office in another state. And it was all like Thanksgiving time, Christmas coming and all of that. And they were very concerned about what was happening and that their destiny looked very grim. And so my role, I knew in the front end, was to get people in a higher state. They were in a state of fear, potential loss, terror about money and Christmas and family and time of year, and all this stuff was happening. And you can't think clearly when you're in that state. So what happened in that situation is that we raised the bar for everyone to put them in a higher state. And as quickly as possible, got people on the same page of being of value in a marketplace that was scared also, because the market had changed in real estate. It changed first in Arizona, and it was had some grim in it. But the part that was astounding is that when that shift happened, I won't go into the story's in the book, but when the shift happened where people went, I can see myself being of value, then for the rest of the day, the whole conversation is, it would be amazing if we did this. What if we did that? What if we, and there were all these ideas, and the heat in the room went up 15 to 20 degrees in 1 second. The minute everybody went there, it was amazing. It was a Friday, end of the year, end of everything. It was New Year's Eve that night, parties. And so what ended up happening is that we ended at 3:30. Nobody went anywhere. No one called anybody. Nobody did anything except, participate in the dreaming and the creating for next year, which would be starting on a Tuesday or Wednesday next week. So I go home, open up my email, and there's an email from the president of the company that said, first line, it's like a miracle. Today, we had our #1 open order count ever in our 10-year history today. I mean, how did that happen when nobody talked to anybody? Do you see? Nobody talked to anybody. So what's that called? Well, guess what? There's studies on that now too, and it's called the resonance effect. Because the resonance is a frequency. When you have a collective frequency of higher state going out, the doing is, well, in their case, non-existent. Because people, what if they had a real estate transaction and needed an escrow that day, they thought of that company that day. So then my job as a consultant there was to keep the resonance high and to keep that going. And I'm telling you, the owners came out and went, for the corporate in another state came out and went, what are you doing out here? We were going to close you down. Now you're in the red so fast. What happened? What are you doing exactly? And I had an opportunity to say, companies like yours go out and say, we give really good service. Okay. Everybody says that. But what company like yours says we're here to be of value and we're going to stand by your side until you win, even in this market? Because in the same exact market where everybody was in fear and no one even did anything, they had their #1 record day. It's amazing. And then we kept having them over and over and over again. That's how important this subject is. So to close at 2 minutes after, to close, the skill that Einstein's referring to operating from is whenever you have a negative thought, they're bad, that's bad, somebody cuts you off on the highway, give it to them. They must be in a hurry. I've been in a hurry too. It's okay. We need to not allow the lower frequencies in our consciousness again, if we can help it. And that's the other part I realized when I got the hit to write about intuition and it's urgent. Look at all the negativity in the world. We can change it by each one of us staying in a high state. That's it. That's a resonance effect also. So to find the happy place. Now, the fastest way I've ever seen in my lifetime to do this, intend to be of value to anyone that crosses your path. And then act on that intuition you get when you're in the elevator to say hello. Have a wonderful day. Small stuff. Thank you. You could just do an exercise. Spend one day going hello and thank you to people. See how you feel at the end of that day. That's how you maintain a higher state, is you keep feeding the higher state with your actions, with your causes that will have effects. And then the intuition is your new brain with better information than evaluating what happened yesterday that looks like today. So let me evaluate if I can do it today, because this moment in time has nothing, zero to do with a moment ago even. It's all new. Intuition is living at the speed of life. Intuition is operating at the speed of life. Each moment is infinite, each moment is different. And it's the new intelligence. And then every decision we make will be relevant for the future, because operating in that zone. Thank you all so much for today. Would anyone like to share before we close? Yes, Margie. I understand. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it.
It was
Bye.
absolutely amazing, Daryl. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I am I'm in awe because I know that I am hearing you say intuition is a gift and it's a muscle that we have to practice and exercise.
Yes.
And I thought about how powerful could it be just to even start playing it with the boys. Let's just play this guessing game
Yes.
I was telling my son, and if I may, I'll share it as quickly as I can.
Yes.
I told him, your life is defined in 7 seconds. What happens is you get a feeling in your stomach and you know it feels good, you know it feels bad. That's your intuition telling you, don't do this or do it. And
Yes.
the moment you choose to ignore it, you'll pay the consequences or you'll receive the rewards of doing it. And I gave him 2 examples. One, when he's playing soccer and he scores a goal, he gets an intuition, feels amazing. The
Yes.
other is when he's at the crossroads of life and he has to decide on saying no thank you. And and this intuition that's what it is. Learn to listen, because you'll get
Yes.
better at that guessing game. I'm
Yes.
gonna see what I can do to play it with the boys, because I realize how powerful it is just to exercise that practice.
Yes. Yes. Well, you know, when they really want to do something really badly, that could be their intuition screaming, I want to do this, and they have a reason for it. And we should start honoring those kind of things with the children.
And I
They're-
think that it
Yeah.
is, I'm laughing because Bobby Bobby has this little energy to him. It's a little spiky. And I think if I learn to show him how to guide that now, these little people could become great little manifestors.
Absolutely.
They hear me on these calls, or they hear me listen to
Yes.
things.
Yes.
And Johnny, when he was little, he was telling me, Mom, I was visualizing myself going to this restaurant, and I could see it, and he gave me the full details. And then
Yes.
it's like, why didn't it happen? According to what you were listening, it should have happened.
Yes.
So-
Yes. Well, thank you so much. And we're going to close now. I'm going to render this, means squish it, and then get it distributed on Jump Share to you guys right away. Thank you so much for participating, and looking forward to our journey. Here we go. And then just like,
Thank you.
awesome, thank you. The heads up is that we're going to do the intuitive intelligence class January 11th for the next 9 weeks. There's 9 chapters in there. So just to kind of save the date, because it's going to be, that's a very important class and information. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Love
you.
you so much. It's just huge. I'm so lucky and happy and grateful for you all being here. Really, I truly love you. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Daryl.
you.
Have a
Bye.
great day.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Love you.